So, hey guys, Chauzu here. So I want to give my final impressions of Law and Kid ahead of their release. We got the official reveal and everything, and I've spent a lot of time today thinking about them, and I feel like every time I think about them, my opinion just continues to go down. So I feel like it has hit rock bottom now. I doubt it will go lower. I think it will go up a bit tomorrow after I probably try them in some capacity. Like in terms of testing the units, like Law and Kid is infinitely more interesting than Big Mom. We know what Big Mom can do. We don't need to test it. Like we can showcase it, sure, but there's nothing really interesting about her. She's just OP. But Law Kid has some interesting stuff. It's just a lot of it is convoluted. So let's just recap some essentials. Law Kid is a Psi and Int unit. Law is Psi, Kid is Int, and yeah, they are duo unit. And I want to say that I'm really getting annoyed at them trying to make people feel off-put by duo units. Duo units do not need to be annoying. Like, it's not duo units' fault that Bunny decided to do Luffy Yamato, and now Kid Law that also has an 8-switch gimmick. And I just think it's dumb. Like, this is like the first point that kind of ruins this unit. Like, sure, as a captain they have ways to reduce the swap. Like in solo form, you can reduce the switch effect at the start of the battle. With Law it's 1 turn. And with Kid it's 2 turns. You got some options there, and every time you use a Psi and Int unit you can set it up so you get swap reduction as well. So as captain it's actually not too bad. It's very realistic to get these into the super swap, and you want to get into the super swap so you can get the duo form, and you want to be in duo form to get the better special. But the problem is that the captain ability is incredibly bland. Sure, you can get up to very high damage, like in duo form. You can get a 6 times attack for like the last 2 hitting, but other than that, there's nothing special here. There's no utility, like minimum beneficial orb, stuff like that. Like, the only reason you use them as captain is because you want the super swap, and using them as a sub, it takes too long. So that's a very bad reason to use someone as a captain, in my opinion. So yeah, they are really ruined by the fact that the super swap is so hard to use as sub. And at the same time, they make an EX super that you can actually use as sub. But we already established that using these guys as sub is a nightmare. You don't want to do that. So yeah, I don't really know what they're thinking with this unit. And we also have to say that actually using the EX super is really hard. Like, you need some specific units. Like, you can fit a Luffy, but as I said yesterday in my video, like, fitting any others of these in an optimal damage team is going to be hard. Like, you can fit Zoro, like the anniversary Zoro, for example, but Law and Kid already does some of the chain stuff that Zoro does, so it's not 100% optimal. And the EX super itself is not that great, since it's basically just Super Psi and Super Int, and you don't want both of them at once. So like, it's a bit of versatile, since you can always cover Psi or Int, but you never need both at once, basically. Otherwise, like, the effect, sure, like that plus 0.25 to Law's swap makes it so optimal. You can get like a 1.65 times chain multiplier boost, which is incredibly high. Not going to lie about that, but super convoluted to get, to say the least. I also want to note that the solo special is actually pretty decent. Like, the numbers are just a bit less, but if we talk about like super boss and stuff, like the comparison with Law Kid versus other Super Tandem users is already pretty unfavorable. So without the duo unit special, it's going to be even worse. and in duo form is the only way to get the really cool thing about Kid and Law, the thing that would age really well, which is the fact that their special will let you ignore all defensive effects on enemies, including normal attacks only, and it also lets your teammates ignore it, so it's absolutely incredible, and I look forward to testing that. But you're basically forced to use them as captain, so it's a bit hard to use it as sub, and that ruins some of the potential, but definitely the coolest part of this unit. But in the end, going to be hard to make use of for a lot of content. Like, in reality, this is going to be a meme thing, which is fine to me, but not sure that's something people want to spend their games on. Finally, let's do some Super Tandem talk. I do think that it's going to be annoying to use the Super Tandem 2 because you need one of Luffy, Killer, or Beppo is required. And sure, Luffy is pretty easy to fit, but using Law Kid with the intended gear 5 might be hard. We can get back to that in a bit. And sure, it's a strong Super Tandem in a vacuum, 2.75 times, but this is still quite a bit weaker than the other best Super Tandems. So with that, let's talk about using Law and Kid with some other units. First, let's talk about that synergy with Gear 5. So, Gear 5 Luffy, if we recap with the special, you can get a very big ore boost, you can get a very big color affinity boost, and then with Law and Kid, you can get a very big attack boost, and you can buff the super type. As many people have pointed out, that super type buff is not that big in the grand scheme of things. Like, it's extra damage, but it's not that much extra damage, so even if it's a unique effect, it's kind of like a base attack boost, but even worse like that. I think someone said it was like the same thing as getting 30% extra resistance applied to the enemy, and that's not something we go, wow, 30% resistance. So yeah, we don't really think like that, right? So not sure if that's actually that big of a deal. So, but you know, at a glance, this is very good. Like, you get the attack boost Law Kid. Gear 5 handles ore boost color and color affinity. Gear 5 has the rush, which is actually a final tap. And then we have Law and Kid for the Super Tandem. Like, there's nothing to complain about, right? Well, first we have the fact that, like, Gear 5 Luffy wants Psy Orb, so he gives a full board of Psy. And then you use Law and Kid, you get a full board of Tandem, and you want at least one Tandem for Super Tandem. Okay, then we use Law Kid first, get Tandem, and you use Gear 5 and you get all Psy. So, not a really optimal day there. There's some issues with getting Tandem Orbs, but the bigger issue is the fact that it's a rush and not a final tap. Rush and Super Tandem can't activate the same turn. So let's say you build a team with Law Kid and Gear 5 Luffy, and you have only Gear 5 Luffy on the team. You don't have Beppo, you don't have Killer, no other Luffy. Like, that means that you have to use Luffy in the Super Tandem chain. But if you want to use the rush, you have to hit with Luffy last. So that means Super Tandem can only proc final hit with Luffy. But then we have the problem that Rush and Super Tandem cannot activate at the same time. It will prioritize Rush. So unless you run 2 Luffy, or you manage to fit Gear 5 Luffy and Beppo, or Gear 5 Luffy and Killer, then yeah, you're out of luck. And yeah, you can argue that, like, the new Beppo, the new Killer, like, they have a death down conditional, so you can make use of the death down that Law Kid does that goes through full immunity. But how many teams has one single spot just to do a conditional? Like, it's very hard to fit, it's a hard sell. I don't really buy it. And that's not where the issues stop, because as said, Law Kid is not the only good Super Tandem user. Like, you know the current 2 best ones, Nami and Zoro. I usually talk about Zoro since he's the one I have maxed. Final story though, like if you see my Nami, she is actually should be maxed, but I did one of the biggest blunders I've got, and the first dupe I pulled, I actually fed into pinch healing. That was some incredible brain fart that I can't explain. So my Nami isn't maxed, but she should be. Anyway, Nami is super tandem. Like remember, Law Kid 2.75 times attack boost. Nami 2.25 times, and it sounds like, yeah, okay, Nami is worse, but then she has that buffs conditional by plus 0.5, so against Super Boss you always want 2 conditional, so basically Nami is 3.25 times attack, so yeah, that's quite a bit better. And Nami also pairs up well with Gear 5 Luffy, since she does base attack boost, big chain boost. She also does a conditional, so you can use her very well as well. And if we go Zoro, and Zoro is maybe a better example since basically the same as Law Kid. Zoro also does a very big attack boost, and you also have the potential to get a conditional. So, and then you also have the super tandem, which is also stronger. Like this ends up being like a 3 times super tandem, while Law Kid is 2.75 times. So yeah, it's unfavorable comparisons, and like sure, I know not everybody has like Zoro max like me or close to max Nami like me, but it's irrefutable that Nami and Zoro are better, like objectively. Like sometimes Law Kid might be better, but most of the time Zoro and Nami is better. And Zoro and Nami are class focused, both cover free spirit, and free spirit is basically what you want to build with Gear 5 Luffy, so you can just use them in more comps, not just versus int. You can use them versus basically any color, while Law Kid is basically locked into versus int. Like theoretically you can put them on an int team, but right now I don't really feel like they will help a lot on such a team. So yeah, I don't know, as you see, like struggling to find any good use from the like super boss angle. Sure, they will probably really good this first super boss, but you want to really invest just for that. Finally, let's talk about the more interesting stuff, at least for me, which is that special that lets you go through normal attacks only with specials. Opens up some cool potential with these units mainly. Can talk with Big Mom first. My Swedish friend Bobby always talks about this Big Mom, and she does have a unique captain ability where she boosts type damage dealt by specials by 3 times. So Law Kid does 500 times type damage through normal attacks only with their dual special, and lets future specials also go through normal attacks only. So with Big Mom, that's basically 1500 times their attack. And if you have double Big Mom Captain, we're talking like 3000 times attack and type damage through normal attacks only and everything. So that's pretty amazing. But of course the issue here is that you need Big Mom Captain, and then Law Kid is sub, and you know Law Kid 8 swaps. So even in Treasure Map with like -5 to the swap, you still need to swap 3 times, which basically means you're not going to run them as subs. Maybe as captains in Treasure Map, I definitely think that will be a good thing, but yeah, that's mostly a meme that I will most definitely try, of course. More realistically, the best partner is Mihawk, since he's int, so he naturally fits with Law and Kid. And he also has the ability to do damage based on how much you did in damage the last stage. So this can always go through normal attacks now after you use Law and Kid. So I think Mihawk in general will be the main companion if you go for that angle with Law and Kid. But you of course can't rule out Doffy. Like if you run Law Kid Captain, Doffy won't be boosted, but might be worth anyway, because he's basically Mihawk on steroids. Not as reliable, but has the potential to do a lot more damage than Mihawk with his special. So I definitely look forward to having fun with this. I feel like having fun with damage, I'm a bit iffy about that. So basically the reason why I want to pull Law Kid is for memes doing damage rather than for any specific legit use. And for super bosses, I think I'll stick to Zoro and Nami in general. That's my feeling. So with that said, maybe not something you want to really pull on. But I want to mention as well, of course, that part 2, where Law Kid does have the Nami. So if you really don't have anything super tandem, then this is pretty good value to go hard if you had the opportunity, since who knows, you can get lucky and pull a lot of Law Kid or a lot of Nami, and then suddenly you might have one top 3 super tandem, which is better than none, for sure. So yeah, something to consider. But for most people, part 3 will probably be better. Since Big Mom is great, everybody wants Sanji, and Shanks' Luffy crew is definitely not bad. Anyway, before ending this video, let's talk a little bit about PvP, but it's going to be a little... I don't really believe much in them. They are basically an anti-driven and powerhouse unit, which is neat, I guess. Could be good in the future. The problem is that right now, driven and powerhouse are basically irrelevant. Like, they don't really see any use, and if they are used, they can be destroyed by a lot better units than Law and Kid. So yeah, I don't know, like, might be good in the future as said, but I don't really see it being used now. And I don't really think the special does that much either. Like, some death downs and good damage, not even guaranteed paralysis. Like, yeah, super high CT2. Like, I don't believe in this unit in PvP. And the burst also a bit whatever. Enemy has to use specials, not so, like, that's not super reliable either, but you will likely be able to use this twice. But you ignore that defense for one unit, but you still do a puny 1.5 times damage to that unit. And the rest, like, sure, you do a big nuke, but 5 times is not that great when you account defense and such, which is the most important stats in PvP. And the leader skill, like, it's a bit whatever. Like, the leader, the burst is the most important thing. So yeah, as you see, I'm not super positive on this unit in a, like, super boss viability perspective, but I do think their special is interesting with going through normal attacks only for specials, letting others do it too. And I also think that their ability to set defense to 0 to full immunity can also see some good use. And unlucky for them, they don't have a conditional, because if they had a conditional as well for the death down, this will have been a whole other conversation. But right now, pretty flawed unit for Super Boss, but going to be a very fun meme. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.